Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to WatchGuard Security Week in Review, a video podcast dedicated to quickly summarizing the biggest information and network security stories each week and to sharing some practical security tips along the way. I'm your host and all-around security geek, Corey Nachreiner, and this is the episode for the week starting March 10th, 2014. Let's jump right in with the first of our three security stories, which is Patch Day. It's the second week of the month. That means both Microsoft and Adobe Patch Day. During Microsoft Patch Day, the Redmond-based company released 5 security bulletins. A lot of them fixed vulnerabilities in Windows, one fixed vulnerabilities in Internet Explorer, and another one fixed some flaws in Silverlight. The most important bulletin of the bunch is the Internet Explorer cumulative update, as it fixes that 0-day vulnerability that attackers were leveraging in watering hole attacks, which targeted the Veterans of Foreign Wars site and a French aeronautical site a few weeks ago. So definitely get the Internet Explorer update. One of the big Windows updates also fixed a vulnerability that allowed malicious images to hijack your system. Now, Adobe Patch Day started pretty light. It started with just a very minor Flash vulnerability that fixed a few non-code execution flaws. However, 2 days after Patch Day, Adobe also released a more critical Shockwave vulnerability. So if you have Adobe Shockwave or Flash, be sure to patch. Finally, while we're talking about fixing your browser, this week was a security conference called CanSec West, during which there's a popular hacking contest called Pwn to Own, where security researchers can try to hijack web browsers for money and prizes. Long story short, every single browser, i.e. Firefox, Chrome, Safari, was pwned during this competition. They ended up paying almost $500,000 worth of prizes. So the moral of the story is expect more browser patches to come in the following weeks. The second big story this week was more details around the Target breach, the latest showing that Target may have actually made a couple mistakes. The big story, which comes from some Target security insiders, is a while back Target invested $1.6 million into a system or solution that can catch advanced targeted threats, a solution that comes from FireEye. It uses technologies I've talked about before, sandboxing and virtual execution, to find malware even if it doesn't have a signature. In any case, according to these reports, during the Target breach, this particular system actually triggered. They discovered not necessarily the malware as it was coming into the system, since the actual entry point was through some valid third-party credentials that the attacker stole. However, they were able to detect when the malware started trying to exfiltrate data. In fact, Target apparently hired a third-party service to monitor this particular system, and that third-party group actually reported back these alerts to Target while they were happening. So the big story is that Target ignored the alerts that would have showed them this data exfiltration and given them a chance to catch it. Another point in the story is this particular system could have automatically blocked the data exfiltration apparently. However, the security people at Target disabled this particular feature. So this begs the question, why did they ignore these particular alerts? Were they too busy? Did they not rise to the top? However, before everyone goes hammering Target, one thing we don't know from this story is why Target disabled certain features or why they may not have paid as much attention to the alerts. Many of these malware systems may have false positives. They may alert too much on things that aren't a big deal. And these false positives are kind of like the chicken saying the sky is falling. If you get too many people crying wolf, people will start ignoring your cries. So while it is bad that they did ignore these alerts, it would be interesting to see whether or not these alerts really did differentiate this particular attack from all the other noise happening in the environment. The last and probably biggest story this week is yet another NSA and Snowden leak. This one coming from the new publication First Look via Glenn Greenwald, one of Snowden's favorite reporters. This week he published an article talking about some of the codename operations going on in the NSA, according to some presentations and documents that were disclosed by Snowden. The operations the article mostly concentrated on were Turbine and Quantum operations, and these are both essentially automated systems in the NSA to help exploitation and to help deliver malware to various targets by the NSA. And they have a lot of various capabilities. For instance, there's reports that these systems are able to intercept Facebook connections and actually can infect Facebook users. There's also reports that these actually go after cyber criminals' botnets. If they can find botnet victims, they try to hijack the command and control center to get all those botnet victims for themselves. And then they have these innocent computers which the NSA can use to target other computers. In any case, it seems that the NSA has paid almost $70 million to set up these systems over the past few years, and they're really designed to scale attacks. The NSA complained in some of the documents that having a human going after targets one by one is time-consuming, so they needed something to automate a lot of the processes so they can really scale these attacks. There's a lot of interesting information about how they can intercept and maybe crack and decrypt voice over IP communications, VPN communications. They can intercept DNS to redirect you in man-in-the-middle attacks. They can intercept HTTP and SSL and try to bypass some of the certificate protections used. So it really is a lot of detail about how NSA's TAO, or Tailored Access Operations, uses various tools during some of their attacks. Now, if you're really interested in this, I highly recommend you read the article which I'll post on our blog page associated with this video. But do know on Thursday, NSA pretty much unequivocally denied these allegations. They said they do not target Facebook, they do not take over Facebook users, and they say when they do operations, they do so under full legal authority. So the problem with these leaks is no one really knows what the true story is. It's clear based on a lot of the documents we see that the NSA is kind of pushing the boundaries of their spying activities and gaining access to data which does affect the privacy of certain citizens. But I do want to remind all the people out there that keep on hammering the NSA that the reporters and the experts that are reporting on this are interpreting PowerPoint documents. They're interpreting presentations. And if you've ever given a presentation, you know that the full content of your presentation isn't always in the slide. Sometimes what you're talking about is visionary, sometimes what you're talking about is true today, sometimes it's just something you'd like to see happen. So I do think as an industry we need to be careful about how much we assume the NSA is doing without more evidence than just slides. That said, these are some pretty interesting and scary disclosures, and they have a lot of the community, including even Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook himself, up in arms. So definitely go check out that article. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you found it informing and entertaining. There's a bunch of other security stories, so be sure to check the reference section of the blog post associated with this video. It will have stories about how bad guys are hijacking WordPress sites to do DDoSes and other stories like that. On top of that, be sure to follow WatchGuard Security Center in general for more regular security updates. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm @SecAdept, or follow WatchGuard @WatchGuardTech. Thank you for watching, and here at WatchGuard, we're rooting for you.